we are having an opportunity to meet the candidates. So right now we speak with PNM candidate for Horquetta Talparo, as well as the General Secretary of the People's National Movement, Foster Cummings. Hello, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, DK, and fine. Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Excellent.
Now, one of the things that we see is that, especially with representatives or potential representatives for the marginal constituencies, there's a lot of talk about the individuals, but we rarely get the opportunity at this stage of the game, to speak to. So we're very happy to be able to do so. But we'll start off though, because there have been reports of flooding in Horquetta. What can you tell us about that?
But before I touch on that, let me just say to you that Horquetta Talparo is not a marginal constituency. The PNM won that constituency by almost 3,000 votes on the last occasion. It does not qualify as a marginal constituency. We are going to certainly be increasing that margin. In terms of the flooding, we did have some rainfall yesterday, a bit of heavy showers for about an hour. And following that flooding, we were all very anxious in terms of what might happen in Greenvale. But it turns out that Greenvale was okay, with the exception of one household. And in Horquetta, we had some instances of flood waters entering the homes of some of the residents. But we were on hand to lend some assistance. And we are, even today, trying to assist these residents with getting their homes back to some level of normalcy.
Now, with regard to actually seeing the lay of the land, what was going on with the flooding, that may have given you the opportunity to interact with community members a little more. Did that happen, and what was that like if it did?
Yes, actually, we were involved in our regular Meet the People tour when this incident occurred. And of course, my campaign is a door-to-door campaign. We have been moving door-to-door to meet all the constituents on a day-to-day basis. When this occurred, we were not very far off, so we got into action very quickly. It was a very traumatic experience to some of the residents, losing a lot of their valuables and water entering their bedrooms, living room, kitchen, etc. But we had volunteers available who jumped in and were able to lend some assistance. The residents were quite happy to have their future member of parliament on hand. The corporation chairman, Kwesi Robinson, was there with his people. The CPEP company assisted. Minister Kazim Hussein joined us as well, and the ministry officials who accompanied him also assisted us. We were also thankful to have the councillors from the two councillors for that district were also on hand, and they lent some assistance. But in particular, the volunteers and neighbors who came out to help, the ones who were affected, that was really very commendable.
I know Joseph Remy sometimes speaks about the fact that there's a distinct difference between houses in areas and homes in communities. So hearing you speak about volunteers coming out and seeing and literally being each other's brothers and sisters keepers is heartening. Now, you spoke about the door-to-door campaign, and I want you to elaborate on that a little bit, please. Take us through or describe the experience, because this would have been a campaign like no other, looking just from the perspective of having to deal with physical distancing and the COVID-19 pandemic. So what has that been like for you?
Well, we have, to the best of our ability, observed the requirements and considering the restrictions where COVID-19 is concerned, wearing of the mask, some level of social distancing, greeting with the elbow. That's quite new, although some of the PNM supporters are so overjoyed to see their representative or their future MP that they will, embrace you or give you a hug when you least expect it. You have to be prepared for that. But the support is overwhelming and it continues to be overwhelming. And as I said, this campaign is a ground campaign. It's the first time I'm contesting elections, first time in the seat, and therefore I want to meet as many of the electors as possible in all areas, the rural districts, as well as Horquetta, Greenvale, and Wallerfield, where the PNM has significant support, but the PNM has support throughout the constituency. And I've made efforts not only to meet the PNM support, but to meet every resident door to door, and they've been very receptive.
I like the fact you keep on saying ground and makes me think of building from the ground up. Do you think you have ground to regain? And I ask that because you gave me the definition and said the constituency is not marginal. But at the same time, life is dynamic, and through no fault of the constituency or the representative Maxi Coffee, there would have been a period of time where Mr. Coffee would not have been as hands-on due to ill health. Do you feel that necessitates the need to have to make up ground or to have your campaign run in certain ways?
I can tell you that Mr. Coffee enjoys a tremendous amount of goodwill within that constituency. Most of the persons I interacted with said to me, look, you know, Mr. Coffee did a lot for them before he fell ill, and therefore he enjoys a lot of support within the constituency. They understand that he did fall ill, and at the time that he was ill, the constituency executive and the councillors in the area played a great role in trying to bridge that gap. Of course, it could never be 100% because he was not available at the time. But upon his return, he picked back up where he left off. And so today I am inheriting a foundation that I can build on, and I intend to continue a lot of the programs that he had. I wouldn't say that there is much ground really to try to catch up, because the executive maintained their contact with the various arms throughout the constituency. I've been able to meet functionaries throughout in all of the polling divisions. And as I said, the councillors did a marvelous job as well.
Now, you spoke about meeting supporters of the PNM as well as meeting individuals on a very holistic basis. What has that experience been like in terms of saying, okay, well, you may not be someone who is definitely going to be voting for the People's National Party, but at the same time, you live in this constituency. I want to hear your story, what it is you have to say. What has the campaign revealed to you in light of individuals like that?
Well, one of the first things I do when I approach someone's house is that I ask them whether I can come in or not, to enter their gate, that is to say. And I have not experienced, I can tell you, I have not experienced a single situation where someone has said, do not enter my gate. When you chat with them, you know, some persons will outright tell you they're supportive. That has been the majority with me. Others will say, well, they're still taking a look at things, they're making up their mind. And there are some who have said to me, listen, we are supporters of the UNC. But it has been cordial, and I look forward to, you know, assuming this role. What I can tell you is that a lot of those persons, some of them who may not have expressed open support for the PNM, have said to me that they want to commend the government on the way that the government has handled the COVID-19 pandemic. And some of them have asked me to convey this message to the Prime Minister and political leader, which I have done. So that it has been a tremendous experience meeting the young people, meeting the not so young, going out into the community and meeting one-on-one, because you get to understand the needs of the people much better when you do that. And I think that this experience is going to assist me greatly in formulating plans and policies.
All right, so we take a break. We're speaking with Foster Cummings, the candidate for La Horquetta Talparo, the PNM candidate, as well as the General Secretary of the PNM. We return with this conversation. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're speaking with Foster Cummings, a PNM candidate for La Horquetta Talparo. Now, Mr. Cummings, in terms of moving, this is the first time you're moving for this position. What do you see as the differences from being GenSec to actually vying for a seat?
Well, as you know, I serve in the Senate. I've served in the Senate during this term, and now I'm moving to get involved in the electoral politics. It is quite demanding in the sense that people, you have a large number of constituents, they all want to have almost a personal relationship with a member of parliament. I'm very open to that. The fact is that you don't have that being a senator. As General Secretary of the party, however, I have to interact with party members throughout Trinidad and Tobago. You know, the PNM has over 100,000 registered party members. So that is nothing new to me in terms of that people interaction. And so that has, I suppose, been my training ground, and I'm ready for it.
And do you think it'll be a positive or something that you already have in your arsenal, the ability to be able to make those linkages, to know how processes work in the party, if the PNM forms the new administration, and say I already have an idea how this works, so I can be able to organize these things for my constituents?
Yes, I can tell you that the PNM will form the next government. You are also free to introduce me as the next member of parliament for La Horquetta Talparo. Yes, it will assist me because the PNM is one of the most organized political parties. It's the most organized political party in the country. We have units throughout the country, including Tobago, where we have the Tobago Island Council. And in this position of General Secretary, have that responsibility of administrative functions for the party throughout the country. So that has been a good training ground for me. It is going to assist me moving forward in this new role as Member of Parliament, yes.
Now, Paul Keynes Douglas says that some people start a story once upon a time. He says some people start a story if elected. Now, if elected, what are some of the things or some of the gains you see for the constituency of La Horquetta Talparo? Some of the things that people have spoken to you about, some of the things that you would have seen on your own accord and saying, okay, well, this is where I want to take this space and this area?
Following my introduction as a candidate, I moved to start a meet with special interest groups. One of the groups, the farmers of the constituency, because a large part of this constituency, there are a lot of farmers involved. The Hadaway farmers in La Horquetta, the Wallersfield Farmers Association, and we have farmers throughout the rural districts of the constituency, Todd Road, Mamoral. We have farmers throughout. And in meeting with the farmers, I realized that many of them were having issues in terms of getting their farm resuscitated. And so we started a Grow Food project. The Grow Food project has been extremely successful. What we do is we move into traditional farms. We conducted an assessment at first. We move in, and following that assessment, if you need brush cutting, we brush cut your farm. We will assist you with plowing, we'll assist you with rotivating. We will give you some planting material to start you off. And we also have Dr. Jeff, who is assisting in introducing the farmers to smart farming in terms of hydroponics, aquaponics, etc. And it has been extremely successful. And I look forward to the success that these farmers will have with the assistance from the Grow Food Project. That's one of the areas.
Now, people love to speak about can't teach an old dog new tricks, but I like what I'm hearing with regard to the farmers and the response. Do you see old farmers or people who have been in the business for a while actually taking up some of these things and saying, okay, well, yes, this is something that I need, this is something that I can run with?
A lot of them have, but some of them, of course, have said, listen, one farmer told me the lettuce doesn't taste the same when it's grown in the PVC pipe. He wants to actually continue this traditional way of farming. We still assist those who are willing to accept the new technology. Yes, a lot of them have come on board with that. I've visited many of those farms where some of them have now embraced the new technology. And then we have young persons who want to get involved in farming, and we are going to assist them in forming a farmers cooperative wherever they exist, so that they can come together and get involved in farming in a meaningful way and be able to move forward to some level of entrepreneurship. Yeah, entrepreneurship is going to be one of the main pillars of my stewardship moving forward, because I think that we need to harness people's skills and talent and move it towards productive business, where they can be successful business people, but as well contribute to stimulating the economy by creating employment and having that economic activity taking place throughout the constituency. That's what we're going to be doing now.
In terms of harnessing skills and moving them forward, how would you describe your leadership style? And I ask that as well because sometimes people want to see the MP in the area, they want to see the person, but at the same time, there is also the convergent view that if you see me all the time, that means I can't be doing things for you in other spaces. So how would you describe the way that you interact and your leadership style?
No, well, to start with my work ethic, I work very long hours. I would say maybe 12 hours, 14 hours per day, so that I work until I get the job done. So people see my hands in it, I get my hands into it. If you look at what we have put out there from the interaction with the farmers, I actually get my boots on, get into the fields and assist where I can. I have that experience coming out of a farming village myself. I worked my kitchen garden, my family garden as a young man. I sold with my mother in the market. So I have that sort of experience and I share my experience with them to show them how you can move from point A to point B. And I use my own life as an experience for them so that I get my hands into it. People are very appreciative of their member of parliament who will be there for them, who can listen to them, and who they can relate to and be very who is very accessible to them.
All right, no, it makes me feel as though we need to be telling you about the Farmers Collective that is having a fundraiser on the 28th of August. But if there's one thing, well, we know you'd like individuals to vote for you, but if there's one thing that you want out of the constituency of La Horquetta Talparo, or there's one thing you'd want people to know about you, what would that be?
I would say to the constituents of La Horquetta Talparo, you have an opportunity to embrace a new member of parliament who will be there for you, who will listen to your concerns, and who will be your greatest lobbyist both in and outside of parliament to make sure that we develop this constituency to be a model constituency in Trinidad and Tobago. We are going to develop our young people. We are going to put them to productive work. We are going to make sure they realize their fullest potential. We are going to establish business districts within the constituency to make sure that sufficient economic activity is taking place for the creation of jobs and to make sure that there's a future for the generations to come. La Horquetta Talparo is going to be involved in development of infrastructure and development of people. And I aim to lead that charge within the constituency as soon as I'm elected.
All right, so we want to thank you so much, Foster Cummings, PNM General Secretary, as well as a candidate for La Horquetta Talparo. We also want to thank you for tuning in. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm DK Roster. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.